Professor Chetan Boiddo has ended. Even I think that one of the problem in today's budget and everything is that when we had this planning commission and the 5-year plan, then we could understand from the budget that how the country is moving, whether that this uh, budget is supporting the 5-year plan programs and others. Now, what has happened after 2014 and the dismantling of planning commission and others, we get a budget every year. With Nirmala Sitharaman becoming the finance minister, we are getting priorities. We are getting priorities every year. Hmm. Now, this year, as you have all seen, that there are 9 priorities, and one of them is urban development. This is surely a very important point. That is, from our childhood, we used to hear that India is a country, India is a rural country, India is a country of agriculture and others. And whatever be our master plan approach or anything that started from late 50s, that did not give enough priority or enough importance to the urban sector. So this is really a change. And now coming to the budget itself, I think the budget has been mentioned budget has mentioned urban thing in many ways. Any ways, the first thing was this PM Awas Yojana with 3 crore additional housing for urban component for the poor and the middle class. Then the digital public infrastructure for urban governance. Then within the priority itself, there is talk of cities as growth hubs, with economic and transit planning. Then there is transit-oriented development for 14 large cities, then the etc. Now, these are very, very important. They're very, very important, but there is apprehension about something. As you see, there is one of the priorities which calls of creative redevelopment of cities, brownfield redevelopment, and this is where I have some fear. Looking at the things that happened in Varanasi and others, now every town and city has its own character, which is historically derived. Now, of course, there are starting from what has started with our improvement trust. There are widening of roads, etc. I'm not denying the need for all those things, but if you speak of this creative redevelopment and then just that demolishes the character of the city, the city actually known for, and then there is sense of apprehension for that. And I'm really afraid about that. That what is meant by this creative redevelopment of cities, brownfield redevelopment, and so. Then again, as we do not have any comprehensive framework, we are unable to understand. One of the problem is that the census 2021 has not happened, and we are not sure when it will happen. So we are not at all sure that how the urban thing will shape if the actual counting has done. As we are surprised in the 2011 census with the coming up of so many census towns, we are not sure whether that process will continue. As Professor Om Prakash Mathur has said, that this reclassification has become the new urban rather than natural growth or anything. So whether this reclassification is going to happen, then that will take us to the need for different type of settlement planning, because rural areas are becoming census towns, and what will we do with that? So what will we do? But if the process is changed, as there was fear during the COVID with the return migration and others, people are going back to villages. If that process is not continuing, then surely our strategy had to change. With the absence of this census 2021, we just don't know what is happening to the urban transformation process. So what will happen to budget and one thing? Again, the problem is that our whole concentration is about the large cities and towns, whether it is for transit-oriented development or peri-urban development, economic and transit planning, etc. We just forgot the lots and lots of small and medium towns we have, and they are languishing. This is a thing coming that cumulative development of big cities, large cities, etc. They are attracting more and more people, and the lower order cities, lower order urban areas, they are just languishing. They are not getting enough urban amenities and others, and that is also pushing people to larger cities. So larger cities are becoming, larger cities are almost saturated, and the vertical growth, one of the external vertical growth is about what we have seen in the summer, that that we are having heat islands and etc. So what will happen? So I also think with Professor Boydha that we need some sort of going out of this mission mode or project mode. We should have a proper urban policy, proper settlement policy. Now we are that is difficult to get from this 1 year budget type of thing. In budget, we just get allocations. We just calculate whether the allocations have increased or decreased. And in that way, we calculate the priority. Of course, there are very good things like land related reforms, like land administration, planning and management. Urban planning is being revamped. And in the allocations, we will see that some institutions are to be curated as places for urban teaching, urban planning and other things. That is definitely very important. Then GIS mapping, IT-based system for property records, etc. If that can be done, one should mean that there is huge cost about that. Whether our, again, smaller cities and towns are being able to do that without proper help. If that is said, that is to be done by a self-financing mode, that is difficult to do. What will be the amount of central assistance, or whether this will be a shared thing between the center and the states, we are not very sure from this budget speech. If that can be done, that will surely improve the financial position of urban local bodies. They can plan their property tax accordingly. They can collect their property tax accordingly. But I'm not sure whether this whole digitization can be done with the financial strength of our small urban bodies. And then, of course, water supply and sanitation, again, as I have said, that is for 100 large cities only. And that takes me to the point that what will happen to smaller cities and towns? Will they go on languishing? Then street markets and vendors, again, very important. Very important. We hardly see any proper implementation of the 2014 Act. Then about stamp duty, again, I have a point that if you discriminate with, there is a discriminatory rate with the female, then what will happen? That the properties will be bought in the name of the female member of the family, But as we have seen in case of different types of loans and bank accounts, etc., this is done in the name of the female member of the family, but that doesn't mean female empowerment or the female having actual control over the property itself. That is one of my fear doing with after working with so-called female entrepreneurs and others. That they are female entrepreneurs in name, but everything is controlled by the male members of the family, be it husband, be it son, be it father. So that is my apprehension. But otherwise, as I have started by saying that this is very important that urban development has become a priority. But the question remains that what type of urban development? Is it meant for the large cities and big cities only? Or we are going to have a proper urban policy and a settlement pattern taking into account the census towns, smaller towns, smaller so-called statutory towns and others? Or our attention will just be concentrated to large cities and towns, as this budget has shown, that 14 cities for transit-oriented development, 100 cities for water supply and sanitation. What will happen to other 7,000 plus urban areas? Thank you for now. Again, I will come back in the question answer session.